Well, Paul Finebaum, before Georgia's game with Oregon, was a little hesitant about where how he thought that Georgia would win the game, but he wasn't certain it would be what it turned out to be. I don't know how many people were that certain. I know that the Dog Post crew was pretty adamant, confident, whatever you want to call it, that Georgia would win and cover. I think we all picked them to cover. So we kind of were in a different spot maybe than Paul was coming into it, but after the weekend, it was pretty evident just how good these dogs appear to be, and this is what Paul said this week about Georgia after their lopsided win over the Oregon Ducks. He said some of the doubts about where Georgia would be have gone away, especially with Stetson Bennett. And what Paul's getting at there is the main thing that have so how this works is in with what I do for a living is we whether it's completely accurate or not, we build up narratives. And sometimes it's easy to get into a narrative. I mean, I participate in this too. I try not to, but it happens. So you build up towards, hey, I think this is going to happen, and then often folks will figure out how they'll find something that they'll watch a particular game and they'll believe in it because it kind of backs up what their belief is. But and so then it comes to, hey, they're going to have a lot of problems with this. Two things. First of all, Georgia's defense does not appear to me to be better than it was a season ago. It doesn't appear to be the same. It doesn't appear as good. I think most people felt that way coming into the season. What most people didn't think was that they would, basically throw a shutout against at minimum a conference power, if not a regional and national power in Oregon, number 11 team in the country. Secondly, and uh, perhaps some of us have seen this coming and have been talking about it a little bit more. But Stetson Bennett's played really well, generally speaking, lately, and we'll see what happens in the rain on Saturday. But people folks who have been talking about college sports lately and have college athletics, football specifically, and not uh, seen what's right in front of them about Stetson are just not watching the games. I don't think. I mean that happens a lot. Hey, make sure you're picking up Dawgstruction today. The link is down below. A lot of people have been taking advantage of our awesome book. Forwards from Jeff Foxworthy, and he has some really cool stories about his grandfather. He shared the game with an old friend of him as well as his brother. So I was extremely appreciative of Jeff being in the book. Hey, does here's a trick question, and I don't know if there's an answer to it. Does Georgia beat Clemson by a higher number if Stetson Bennett plays? Because they didn't do anything on offense, and then a week later, not the same caliber of team, they score 56. JT gets back in there, they score 40. They were zipping up and down the field against Vanderbilt. And then, of course, 37 against Arkansas, a top 10 team. 34 against Auburn, a ranked team on the road. 30 against the Cats, probably the toughest game Georgia played. And then Jacksonville and on down the line. But when you look at the way Georgia closed the season, and I'm just going off memory here, but from the Tennessee game on till today, with the exception of the Alabama SEC championship game, Georgia scored 40 plus points. So um, all you have to do is watch Stetson play. Just like all you had to do in 2020 was watch him play. And he wasn't getting it done in 2020. Period. When you think about the Alabama game, he didn't play well against them. He just didn't. Against Kentucky, he didn't play well. Now, it should be pointed out that he was kind of knocked out of the season, or at least for an extended period of games, because of the injury that he had in the Florida game. But folks just my entire point of all of this is we've just gotten to the point where we say something, I guess we feel like we have to back it up. I don't know. But anyone who's been watching Stetson over the last 10 games, since the Arkansas game, it's pretty evident he can do some stuff that's pretty special. But everybody thought he'd take a step backwards. The folks that I talked to behind the scenes, many of them are ex-players. They didn't buy that. They didn't buy that at all. Actually, they did not buy that, and people inside the program, they didn't buy that either. So, I mean, you got to see it. It's something you need to. Georgia's not won the SEC East even, but and you need to see things over and over again to see that there's some firm footing there. But I mean, they've not allowed more than 20 points in their last 4 games. They've not allowed 30 points in their last 4 games combined. Is that right? 11? No, it's a little bit more than that. But the last let's see, the last 3 games. Excuse me. I'm getting some of this stuff confused. They're different teams, obviously, but they have been scoring at a pretty serious clip since the Tennessee game. Well, since the Mizzou game, it's been Mizzou. They had over 40. They had over 40 against Tennessee. Then they played Charleston Southern, had 50-ish, 45 against Tech. They had 24 against Alabama, and then 30 something against Michigan. That's right. Obviously 33 to 18 against Alabama, and then the 50 something. So they're averaging close to 40 points a game. Now Ryan Curley, who is a precocious, college student who's done a great job at Dog Post for a long time, he thinks they can average 50 points a game. I'm a little bit older and usually wiser. I'm not sure I buy 50 points a game. Plus, I also am not certain it won't happen. Um, I think they will definitely be over 40 points a game. 50 seems like a lot. Listen, hey, with this huge audience that we've got, we just had the second largest day ever on our website. If you're watching this and you're a business owner, small business owner, insurance, attorney, if you're in retail, we are definitely looking for sponsors for the 2022 season and beyond. I can get you numbers. Contact me, dean@dogpost.com, and I can get you more information. Again, we are talking to hundreds of thousands of Georgia fans each month, and you want to be in front of that audience. This is the right place for you. People believe us. They stop us. They say hello. They buy our products. I can assure you of that. I have proof. So if you're interested, let me know. But I think Paul. Everybody loves to rag on Paul Finebaum and whatever. I mean, okay, Paul's doing a job, but I think generally speaking, he's got a very good pulse on things in the conference. But I think in this case, uh, most people didn't think Georgia would play that well. I did not, but this the Stetson thing I think is the part that a lot of people have missed for a little bit of time. The worst game that Stetson played a season ago was against Florida. He did not play well in that game, okay? And yet, he had probably one of his best throws of the season in that game to Kyrus Jackson. Um, it needs to be okay that your quarterback doesn't have to play really well every single week for you to win. When you think about this is a great example too. JT Daniels against Cincinnati, he did not play great in that game. He had a lot of, statistics and et cetera, but that wasn't him playing well. Um, and they won. So, uh, you know, part of sports is playing well enough that you can win even when you're not playing well. And I know that sounds strange, but you got to fight through stuff sometimes. There's going to be games where Stetson Bennett doesn't play well. And that's because he's a human being. I think he had like 80 something plus percent completion rate. That's not going to continue. Okay. So not the entire season. You go to South Carolina, it's very similar to Auburn as it relates to the noise that's generated and the visceral dislike of Georgia. That'll be a challenging place for Stetson. He's never played there, in 20. Oh man, now I'm trying to think if he did play in 20. I think he might have played at Carolina in 20, but that wasn't what you're going to be experiencing. That South Carolina Georgia game in 2020, um, that was 2 days after Thanksgiving. No one was at that game. That was a crowd of about 20,000 people, maybe, and it had about 10,000 more Georgia fans. So that's an exaggeration, but there were tons of Georgia people there. So that's not a great example of what he's about to get into when he goes to Columbia. So Georgia will play 3 weekends in a row in 3 different locations. These guys need to get accustomed to that. They're going to be playing in different spots. I mean, they got to play in Atlanta, Athens, obviously Jacksonville. They'll probably play in Atlanta again. I don't know where the semifinals are. You could play in Phoenix, and I don't know what the championships in LA. I mean, there's a lot of different places these guys could play this season. Could play 8-ish places. So, anyway, this weekend I think it's going to be a romp. But I think Paul, like a lot of folks, we assumed particular things, and in Georgia's case, they exceeded expectations. In Ohio State's case, I don't think you can say that. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in Athens.